tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 25 years old and I live in Colorado. And then it's kind of like hiking during the summer and snowboarding during the winter.
Nice. All right. So tell us what the keto mindset means to you for our listeners.
So the keto mindset to me kind of means having a new healthy lifestyle and a way to kind of just make yourself healthier and happier.
Definitely. And just for our listeners who might not be aware, what is ketosis and how does that diet work?
So ketosis is when you intake probably 20 carbs or less when you're starting off, and making your body kind of enter a state of burning your fat instead of burning your carbs, because after a while you're going to have barely any carbs for your body to burn, and so it kind of more focuses on burning your fat.
Definitely. All right, so how long exactly have you been on keto?
I started July 5th, so about 3 months now.
Nice. And how much have you lost since you started? Do you do a scale or just a body fat caliper or a tape measure?
I use the body fat caliper.
Nice.
So I started off at about 35%, and now I'm down to 27%.
Wow. That's really good. You said 3 months?
Yes.
Nice. Very nice. So have you tried any other sort of diets or lifestyle changes before doing keto?
Yeah, I tried plenty of them. I tried the whole eat healthy kind of thing where it was like watch your calories, but yet you still have carbs, kind of doing macros and micros, doing like 2 protein shakes in a meal. I tried the one where it was like the high metabolism where you have like 6 small meals a day. And they all seem to kind of work. Gotcha. And then about after like 2 to 3 weeks, it just kind of stopped, or you just started kind of gaining weight back.
That definitely sounds about right. All right. How did you go about changing your eating habits?
Well, it definitely was hard the first week, but I just kind of made the choice that I wanted to be healthier. So I just kind of set a regimen for the first week and only had pretty much steak and eggs and cheese and a protein shake, just to kind of get into a habit.
So that was for the first week. How did you deal with the dreaded keto flu?
I definitely had a lot of liquids. Recommend totally a gallon a day. And to get that, Crystal Light helps. Green tea. I don't recommend coffee, at least till like the 2nd or 3rd week, just because it's kind of good to get your body off of like that kind of stuff. And then also cheese sticks really help when you when you're hungry, because you're definitely going to be hungry because your body's not used to not having like the carbs and the sugars. And then also Advil if your head, or ibuprofen, like if your headaches start to get like really crazy. But yeah, definitely lots of liquids. Yeah,
definitely. That first week you want to just drink a ton, have some ibuprofen on hand, and you'll be hungry too. So yeah, the cheese sticks and protein shakes really help kind of fill in the gaps. So the staple sounds like steak and eggs. How did you cook those?
On the grill, or on the stove top. I don't personally own a grill, so just kind of searing it. And then the eggs, I just kind of do a mix, either do scrambled or like a fried egg.
Gotcha. And after you kind of got used to the lifestyle and whatnot, was it easier to branch out? Did you start eating out at all?
Yeah, I did. About after like the 3rd week, Because when I'd go out, like I'd order burgers without the bun, no fries. I would definitely recommend doing a salad. Do not eat the croutons. And then kind of watching what kind of dressing you have, and I recommend having it on the side and kind of putting it on yourself so you can monitor what you're doing. Also, like, if you go out, like, and you have, like, chicken or something, just be aware, like, 'cause, I mean, there are hidden carbs, like, when you go out, like, some restaurants will try to give you bread, like, just tell them no. Like, the sandwiches, like, you know, like, for the chicken sandwiches, like, you just get it lettuce wrapped or just no bun or bread.
I definitely had to do that my first week, because they'll bring you that bowl of bread right in the beginning, right when you sit down. You got to be like, no, I don't need that. At least that's me. I can't have it sitting there in front of me, at least for the first week. Now it's not really so bad.
Yeah, and that doesn't really bother me. Like, if you go out with your friends and stuff and they want to eat it, like, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. For me in the start, I could not do that. I just wanted it gone. But yeah, after a while, it's easier to resist it, since it just doesn't taste the same anymore, really.
No.
And was it pretty easy to get started with all that cooking? Because I know a lot of us younger guys and gals just might not cook just because we don't know how, or just because we're too busy. So how was that?
Well, I used to really like cooking when I was living at home with my mom, and then after living on my own, it's just it got easier to, after a long day at work when you're mentally tired, just to go and grab something fast and just bring it home and eat it. But changing over to cooking, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like it's a routine, and then after you've done it for a week, it's like you kind of don't really want to go out. Because it's like you find that you cook better than most places do, and it's more affordable.
Right.
And then you feel much better, too. You're not as lethargic after you eat dinner that you make.
And you're totally right about that, just getting through a week, really. It's because that's really all it takes to get the habit of just coming home and starting cooking. It's not much harder than just doing it for a week.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of went over drinking lots of fluids, and so do you just not drink any coffee at all, or do you do any tea or anything like that?
I didn't drink coffee for probably the first month. I have gotten back into coffee. I like it black. Otherwise, if I do want some flavor, I'll either have flavored coffee or use sugar-free, one pump flavors. But I do like green tea, and I just kind of like hot tea, especially with fall coming up. I like the hot drinks. Yep.
And they're good as long as you make sure not to, just like you were saying, just getting sugar-free stuff.
And don't use creamer. I mean, after a while, you're not going to want sugar, and it just kind of ruins the coffee. Black coffee is actually really good.
Yeah, it's kind of funny like that, huh?
Definitely.
All right. Any other odds and ends that you take, like vitamins?
Yeah, I definitely take a lot of vitamins because it really helps. I take about 2 fish oil a day and then 2 vitamin D3s. I like taking magnesium for the muscles, and then I also like taking B6 and B12. It helps with energy levels. And then I also supplement a fat burner as well.
Gotcha. That's good to add stuff like that, but definitely if you're listening in, just know that really all you need is the basics of the diet, less than 20 carbs, and you don't need to jump into all this vitamin stuff if you're not ready for it. So let's go into the social aspect. How did you deal with peer pressure from either coworkers or friends to eat unhealthy?
I guess I'd say it's like more of a coworker thing, because when you're in the work environment, people tend to bring like donuts or like bagels, and like they want to do like pizza parties or like breakfast burritos. That first week is definitely the hardest. Because after the first week, that second week, you're just already into it, and you're just like, I really don't need that. But the first week, I mean, you just got to like kind of make your stance clear and just be like, look, this is like my new life. And sometimes your coworkers will be pushy, and I mean, you look at it and you're just kind of like, would I rather have this beautiful or like handsome body that I've been wanting, or do I want to look like my like kind of slobby fat coworker? So that's kind of when you got to like weigh it in. And I mean, yeah, that does kind of sound like a little sad, but I mean, yeah, it's like, would you rather?
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. One of the habits that I read about of successful dieters is they always have this overarching kind of goal or vision that they're working towards, and it makes it easier to resist those temptations. So whatever works for you, and I tell that to my listeners and readers all the time, is you kind of have to figure out what works for you and go for it, and it makes it easier to say no to that type of stuff.
Yeah, and after a few weeks, too, I mean, just smelling it's probably going to make you sick.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. I know from experience that the stuff just doesn't taste as good as it used to, but can you tell me a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah, my taste buds have definitely changed. Like, I do not like anything sweet. So it's like when I smell like donuts or like if somebody brings in something sweet, like it kind of makes me get a really weird headache and just like I cannot deal with it. And I mean, even having like pizza sauce, it's like it makes me like sick.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how like things can change in like 3 months, even as little as like 2 weeks. You'll like see a difference.
Yeah, you think it was that fast for you, 2 weeks?
I would definitely say it was for the sweet stuff. I definitely still had my craving for bread. But I mean, it just kind of like, you just kind of got to power through your cravings. Like, everyone's going to have those, but you just got to stay strong. And then after like a few months, like I just decided to like kind of start carb cycling, and that's been after like 3 months. And even then, it's like, it kind of just tasted the same, and it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, like, it was nice, but I mean, I wouldn't want to do that every week.
Yeah, a lot of my friends do the carb cycling or the cheat days, cheat meals. So you said you tried that. How did that go?
It did not go well for me personally. At that time I didn't realize like my sweetness tolerance was so bad. So like I went out and I had pizza. I took like 2 bites and I was literally sick.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's
so no. So I mean, for me, like if I want a carb cycle, I need to start with the basic, and probably do like sourdough toast or a bread that's like really high in fiber. Just because my tolerance is so low for sugary stuff.
Yeah. That's probably the coolest part about this whole thing is you don't really even need cheat days or cheat meals because a lot of the food just tastes really good and you can just eat as much of it as you want.
Yeah, like I'd rather have guacamole or like chicken over a bagel, and it's like I can have those things. And like hot sauces are fine. I mean, just because you go keto, like some people think it's bland or like you eat the same things, and it's like you don't. Like you can add spices, you can add guacamole, like you can have an avocado. Just don't go crazy with the tomatoes. Yeah, like you can do different things, and you can have chicken, and you can have fish, and you can have steak. But it's all just really healthy for you, and you're going to feel a lot better when you eat it than if you go out and have like a burger and fries. Because instead of waddling out, you're going to walk out.
That's a good one. I'll have to use that somewhere. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So back to the social aspect. When you were telling your friends about how you ate or your coworkers, did you explain to them kind of the science behind it, or did you just say, I'm just cutting back on carbs and sugar?
It kind of depended. Like, I have some coworkers that are kind of healthy and, like, they are trying to, like, they go to the gym, and I got some coworkers that are just, like, micro-minded. So to them, it's, like, kind of weird because they're like, well, this donut fits in my macros, and it's like, obviously it fits in your fat as well. So, and then to me it's like, well, my macros and micros are totally different than yours because I'm not having that many carbs. Like, I'm focused more on proteins and fats. And watching my calories now, before it was kind of like I just focused on having low carbs, and I lost all that, and now that I'm down to 27, my body's kind of used to it, and now I need to now I need to calorie watch as well. That's really important. Like, I mean, don't go out and eat a pack of bacon and expect to, like, lose weight, you know, like.
Well, especially when you're a few months in, a lot of these new guys, I tell them, like, you just, as long as you stay under 20, you're going to drop a lot, like anywhere from 10 to 30 pounds within the first month, and that's probably the biggest thing that people love about it, is it's super quick. But once you get into it more, it just takes a little bit more work to get to the lower and lower weights. It just kind of happens. So for the first month, totally recommend if you like baking, go crazy. Because after that, you're going to have to watch it. But once you're first starting, especially if you're already bigger, then it'll just fly off as long as you stay under 20 grams of carbs. Yep. But some of my other coworkers are not as healthy-minded, so they kind of just stare at you like you have 10 heads, and it's like, never mind, don't worry about it. Because some of them are going to forget about it. Some of them are going to be negative because they're just going to be like, well, that's just weird, or like, that's not healthy, and it's like, to me, I'm like, well, I don't judge like what you eat, like, don't judge what I eat, like, that's just kind of rude in that like kind of a way. So it's kind of like really frustrating, like, especially like when you kind of do get used to only having that protein shake, or like when people are like, oh, we're ordering lunch, and you're like, no thank you. It's like they look at you like you're rude, and it's like, and then you have to explain yourself, which is kind of frustrating because then everybody starts judging you, and you're like, I don't need your negativity. Like, I'm not blatantly like judging you and what you eat. When you eat like half a pizza, like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, wow, you're a hippo. Like, if you want to eat that, then eat that. I'm going to eat what I want to eat, and I'm going to feel happy and healthy about my life. So it just kind of depends. Like, some people are much more understanding while other people are not. It's just kind of how life is. Yeah, I've noticed that. One of my friends that I had on here a couple of weeks ago was saying how he explained the science of it to all his friends, and he really got a good social network going to kind of help him, because they all, even though they didn't want to start the diet with him, they wanted to help him. So they would change where they went out to eat and what their parents cooked for dinner and all that stuff. And it's definitely good to have that social support if you can get it. But at the same time, if people don't want to listen, or if they want to judge you for how you're trying to eat healthier, like, it's kind of stupid, and you don't need to have that in your life. You know, it's kind of, okay, you do your thing, I'll do mine. Yep. All right, so I've mentioned a lot that you don't need to do any exercise on this to lose weight, especially when you're starting, but do you incorporate any exercise into your lifestyle? I definitely do. Not for the first week, though, of when I did start keto, just because your body is going through a lot of changes, so you'll definitely want to take it slow. Gotcha. But I definitely am on a regimen of lifting, and then and then having cardio as well. I always do lifting first, and then cardio after. But I kind of just do like a back day, and then I'll do legs with shoulders, and then the next day will be chest and arms. Nice. Yeah, I've definitely noticed myself and a lot of my friends love keto just because it's so much more, I don't know, you have so much more energy when you go to the gym and lift weights or run or what have you on keto. It's just totally night and day difference from what I used to do before, which was the if it fits in your macros, as long as you're below a certain calorie, that whole thing. And, yeah, you do need to be under a certain calorie amount to lose weight if you're really splitting hairs. But at the same time, eating low carb just gives you all that much more energy, even when you're cutting. It's super nice. All right, let's move on a little bit. Has your mood or sleep habits changed at all? I know mine did, but would like to hear what you have to say.
My sleeping habits definitely have. Like that first week or two, I did have some cases of insomnia, but that was kind of normal with it, just because you're having so many changes with your body. But I definitely just took some melatonin or Tylenol PM, and that fixed it. And then with my mood, I've definitely noticed a increase of a happier mood, especially because you just feel more confident and you're just happier, and you just overall feel a lot better about yourself, because you're putting in healthy stuff, and so then it kind of just you just feel healthier. I just feel like everything about it, you just feel good.
Yeah, it's that simple. It's not much more to add to it. All my friends say the same thing, and I can attest to that. It's nothing really more to say there. All right. So you've been on this for a couple months now. You've lost a lot of body fat, which is amazing. What are your plans for the future? I know you said you had a goal of about 20% or so. Once you get there, are you just going to go back to sort of if it fits in your macros and just keep your calories low, or are you going to stick on keto for life? What's your plan?
I think I'm definitely going to stick on keto because, there's nothing really there outside of that. Because, I feel like if I were to go back, it's I feel like all the work and the effort that I've done to change everything would just be for nothing. And I think that's why a lot of the other diets failed, because it's you do something for so long and you're that's what it is. It's a diet. So it's you achieve what you want, and then you're okay, well, I'm done. And then that's why you gain all the weight back.
Yep.
With keto, it's easier to have a lifestyle because you can have so many different things. You can do chicken Southwest one night. You can do steak and eggs another night. You can do or fish, or you can still go out and still enjoy that with your friends and still have that keto lifestyle. And I think that's just something that I just am embracing. And it's been 3 months, and it just kind of feels like it's just part of me now. I don't think I'd go back. I feel like it would take a lot of energy actually to go back to that, because it's if I didn't enjoy eating those 2 slices of pizza. Why would I want to force myself to feel sick?
Isn't it funny how the change happens like that, where you got to make this big lifestyle change, but then after a couple of months, it's it'd be harder to go back to that. It's easier just to stay on this. Well, here's one question that I had forgotten to ask, just because the last friend I interviewed was under the drinking age. As far as drinking alcohol, do you what kind of alcohol do you drink, or do you drink at all?
No, actually, my last drink was July 4th with my family.
Wow,
and I used
that's
to drink,
great.
Yeah, and I used to drink beer and sweet drinks. But so now I've completely stopped. My favorite drink actually is just club soda with lime, because it's a nice, refreshing, bubbly drink. But and it also kind of helps if you have a stomach ache or something like that. That's a perfect go-to. But no, I don't drink anymore, and I really don't miss it, because when I think about it, everything I drank was sugary or it was really carby, because all beers are carb filled. And then I would have some wine occasionally, but now that it's all my taste buds have changed, it's kind of well, I'm not going to like those sugary drinks. I'm not going to like the sweet beers or the ciders. and I definitely don't like IPA, so there's no point in going back to that. And then wine, it's like you'd have to go really dry and acidic-y, and it's kind of like there's really no point in it. I haven't had any bad days, and I haven't been sick at all. Like, there's no, I didn't really get hangovers, but you don't get headaches, and you don't have, those nights where you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like, what did I do? Like, you don't have those nights anymore.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and you're making, like, better decisions, and you see your other friends, and you're, like, you hear your coworker stories on Monday, and you're just like, what a waste. Like, why did you do that? Like, alcohol is poison, and it's like the whole point of keto is to put healthiness into your body, not poison. And so
that's a good point.
Yeah, so it's been a much better, I don't want to call it, I'd say a journey without it. I've started drinking coffee again, but I like coffee, and I don't drink excessively. Like, I'll have like a cup, or I'll do decaf, and I rarely drink it at all. It's kind of more like a treat during the week, I guess. But yeah, it's much healthier for you to not drink, I think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I'd almost say that just cutting out alcohol would probably drop a good 10, 15 pounds off the average American. That's it. And so when you add in this low carb mindset, it really accelerates that. And I will say that for any of our listeners out there, if you do want to drink, first of all, I would say not for the first couple weeks. Just suck it up. Week 1 and 2, just don't do it. It's much easier that way, and it will get your body into ketosis faster. After that, there are sugar-free wines, red wines and white. Sometimes you don't even need the sugar-free because some of them are well below 20 grams of carbs. Wines are good. Hard liquor is good as long as you don't mix it with anything. If you do need a mixer, club soda is good. There's no calories in it and no carbs in it. So there are options out there, but I would definitely say look into just cutting it out entirely or cutting back, at the very least cutting back severely, and especially for those first 2 weeks. It's just going to hurt for the first 2 weeks, and after that, after you've gotten into the swing of things, it's easier to kind of slowly add carbs back into your diet where you want to. And that's definitely an option for, a cheat meal. Glass of wine, red wine with dinner won't kill you after the first weeks. All right. Well, Anna, I think that's all the questions I have. Do you have any questions for me or any other comments you'd like to leave for our listeners?
It's one of those things where it's like, I think it's good to have a support group, because it's easier to do if you have somebody else, even if they're long distance. Like, my mom is in Arizona, and she's doing the same thing, and we check in and we hold ourselves accountable. I think that's really important, to have somebody to hold you accountable. A lot of people are like, I can do that myself, but there are those days when you're just like, that one little bite won't kill me, and it's easier to have a friend when you do this, especially when it comes to not drinking, because sometimes, if you do have those friends, and if you are in that kind of scene, it's easier to say no when you have a sober friend, or if you push yourself to be that DD, or just say like no to being at that situation at all. But it's all about creating a healthier you, and it is hard. And some people, are very skeptical at first, and they're just kind of like, I can't imagine a life without bread and sugar, because that's what we've been raised on as kids. And then you start making these changes, and then you start seeing the weight drop off, and you start seeing your clothes fit again from before you have that like layer of pudge. And It's really good. And then I also recommend for women, only use the fat calipers once a month and do not do it around your period, because you will not be happy.
That's a good point.
Definitely stick it through, because, I mean, that is some of the toughest times as a female, because you're dealing with all the hormones and with this on top of it. So it's like you just got to stay strong, and you just got to kind of push yourself through it, and don't have, like, chocolate, and don't go for the ice cream, and don't go for that bottle of wine. And it's like you'll get through it. I mean, it's going to be tough the first couple weeks, but once you get through it, you're going to be much happier.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Are there any other little tips or tricks you'd have for women? Like you already mentioned, don't measure yourself or weigh yourself during that time. Anything else you can think of?
Go to the gym. Definitely. I mean, you're not going to want to, but when you do, like, you're releasing a bunch of positive hormones, and it's going to help with, like, the cramps and, like, the cravings, and then you're going to get home, and it's like, okay, like, do I want to throw it all away and go for the ice cream, or should I just get protein shakes, there's a lot of protein powders out there that taste amazing with, like, low carbs and stuff like that. Like, go for that. Like, get a vanilla chai or something, that tastes good, that you're like, oh, like, it seems sweet, but it's really not. And then, I mean, if you have a boyfriend, like, utilize them during that time, especially because if you can get your boyfriend or your significant other or your partner to be there for you, and if you guys are both doing it, it's just easier, because then you can use them as a support and be like, because, I mean, they'll hold you accountable as well.
Definitely. Well, that's some good stuff. That's some really good stuff. Once again, I'll give you the option one more time. Any other questions for me, or any more comments you can think of?